Can I just go back to the multiple voting? I hope you won't think me unreasonable, but it just seems to me, when you're talking about sort of day of action from the AFP and AFP resources, etc., and the fact that you've had to write to the AFP with a view to re-establishing a service agreement, the realities are that there's very little chance have you ever been prosecuted for multiple voting, isn't there, even if...
Given the evidence that's required to establish that there was intent, I think that's correct.
When a day of action, what's a day of action?
Well, a day of action
I know what it is in other contexts, but
Paul knows all about it.
That's
day of action,
real action.
A day of action was a concentrated period that we had negotiated with the AFP to look at all of the cases and make decisions about what action would be taken, rather than a process where there was ongoing referrals, spaced over a certain time.
So you do it as a job lot?
A job lot, yes. I think that's a neat description. Thank you.
And I take it, if it's done by way of a job lot, that it's probably an inconvenience as opposed to anything else, where they've had to set aside resources for a day. And once the AEC got its day, I presume that was the end of the AFP's real interest. Would that be fair to say?
Well, the AFP makes decisions about how it allocates resources on the basis of priorities of different offences or potential offences. And we have to negotiate, like any other agency, with the AFP to get our share of that. And I think what I've sought to do is to re-establish a sounder and more apparent and transparent basis with the AFP on how we will negotiate over a fair share of the resource, given the sorts of offences that we're talking about.
Presumably the AFP spoke to some of the tiny number of cases that are involved in these allegations of multiple voting, and simply the fact that the AFP spoke to them might act as a deterrence in the future. Possibly.
That's possible. I mean, my view here is that I agree with you, Senator, that it's, prosecutions are difficult to mount here. Nevertheless, where it is important for us to demonstrate where a person is potentially defrauding the system, that we are intent on taking action, even though it may ultimately not lead to a formal prosecution. There's a demonstration effect, which is equally important as simply just ending up in a successful prosecution.
But I presume you've almost got to categorise the likelihood of successful prosecution before you even give those matters to the AFP, simply because if you can find a day of action, you know what limited resources the AFP has got, and presumably you do your own culling of matters that you're going to refer to. Actually, you're effectively cutting your referral cloth to suit the likely resources the AFP is going to have. So it's almost a dual weeding out, isn't it?